During the Tang Dynasty, Wu Zetian rose to popularity and power, becoming one of history's most influential and divisive leaders. She became the wife of 2 emperors, the mother of 2 more, and the executioner of all her enemies. Today, we will talk about the one and only female ruler of China. But first, have you subscribed to History Diary? Don't miss out our new videos. Let's jump in the time machine and go back 1400 years to a time when piling up corpses was viewed as a shrewd political move. Wu Zetian joined the court of Emperor Taizong at the tender age of 14 in 636. Wu came from a privileged background and was nurtured by a remarkably forward-thinking father for the time. He encouraged her to learn to read and write and to pursue intellectual pursuits, typically reserved for men. She began her career at Tai's palace as a laundry worker. Wu apparently got tired of washing the emperor's pajamas one day, so as he passed by, she approached him with a conversation. It was a calculated risk that ultimately paid off. The emperor thought she was so brilliant that he eventually made her his personal secretary. As a result, she was able to maintain a close relationship with the emperor and learn from him firsthand about politics, society, and state matters. Not only she got a great position, but also she caught the eye of the emperor's son, Prince Li. Since he was already married and she was practically the property of the most powerful man in China, their affair put both of them in exceedingly dangerous positions. It was a love triangle, the sort that causes arguments at modern family gatherings, but usually led to a great deal of violence amongst royal families. In adherence to the tradition, after Emperor Tai's death, all of his female concubines had their heads shaved and were transferred to a convent so that they would not be tempted to find new lovers. Even after Prince Li became emperor, his affection for Wu remained unchanged. He didn't want to be stopped by dusty old customs, so he called for Wu and had her brought back to the palace. Wu joined new emperor's other concubines and his wife, Lady Wang, at his court. His home was always full of people vying for his attention. As you probably can imagine, a house full of people and court full of concubines, for sure, would lead to some rather dramatic displays of jealous behavior. While the emperor and Lady Wang were without any children, his top concubine, Zhao Exu, also known as the pure concubine, gave birth to a son and 2 daughters. In addition, in the years 652 and 653, Wu gave birth to 2 boys. The focus on Wu was what disturbed Lady Huang the most. She saw Wu as more dangerous than the other ladies because she had an education. She was right to be concerned about her, it seems. Wu had a daughter in 654 who unfortunately passed away a week later, and this tragic event served as the prologue to an origin story for a supervillain so cold and calculated that not even the most heartless candidate for love would dare try it. Wu accused Lady Wang, the last person to hold the infant, of smothering the child since she knew Lady Wang resented her. This charge wasn't too far-fetched, given the prevalent tone among the women in the palace. To make matters worse, Lady Wang was suspected of witchcraft and had no alibi. Some later versions, however, suggest that she may have murdered her own child and blamed Lady Huang for the crime. It seems like it wouldn't be too hard to put two and two together and realize that Wu was the one who first accused Lady Wang of being a witch. It would seem that Wu's plot to get the emperor all to herself by killing her daughter worked out perfectly. The emperor divorced Lady Wang after she was found guilty of the murder and exiled to a remote portion of the palace, where she was eventually joined by the pure concubine. Then he married Wu, crowning her empress. One would assume that by the year 655, Wu had obtained all of her goals. However, there was still the issue of the advisors who were refusing to recognize her as empress. It was maintained by the advisors that Wu's marriage to the emperor was unholy because she was of low birth. Perhaps they should have used greater discretion before suggesting incest between the emperor and his new deadly wife. Wu vowed to eliminate all those men, and she eventually exiled or killed them all. When the emperor suffered a crippling stroke in 660, Wu's influence grew. For the next 23 years, she was responsible for all government, court, and state concerns. Wu wasted no time after becoming empress in exacting old debts. The schedule began with Lady Wang and the virtuous concubine. Wu supposedly had their limbs amputated before she had them drowned in a vat of wine. Some rescourse mentioned that Wu gazed at them on and said, "Now these two witches can get drunk to their bones." They could have survived the drowning, but the fire would have burned them to a crisp. Wu's focus soon switched to the more immediate danger to her authority, her very own children. While the emperor was still alive, two of his sons passed away. The story goes that one prince was poisoned and the other one committed suicide after being exiled for disobeying their mothers. When the emperor passed away, his son, Hong, ascended to the throne. He became known as Chengzong, but he and his wife, Lady Wei, pushed their personal agendas to the detriment of the country. After Lady Wei appointed her father as her husband's chief minister, Wu feared they were consolidating too much power in their hands. Wu accused them of treachery and exiled them both. However, there are conflicting reports on whether or not she actually poisoned her kid to kill him. Whatever the situation may be, after Chengzong and Lady Wei died, Wu's youngest son ascended to the throne. He became known as Emperor Ruizong, but he spent most of his reign under house arrest while his mother made all of the important choices in his stead. At this point, she threw caution to the wind and proclaimed herself empress, after which she governed China for the next 15 years. Wu used a widespread system of secret police and spies, a standard instrument of authoritarian regimes, to root out her adversaries. Wu recruited and remunerated confidential witnesses from all around China to reveal hidden information in court. She investigated public servants and kept tabs on them. She got rid of people she didn't like, paid off government employees to snitch on each other, and uncovered plans against her before they could do any real damage. Later in her reign, Wu, like many other powerful monarchs, became corrupted by luxury, despite having been driven by a fiery ambition during her early years in the palace. She started favoring her male concubines excessively, to the point where she neglected her responsibilities. One historian claims that by the time she was in her 70s, she was completely captivated with a pair of brothers named the Zhang brothers, allegedly with flawless cheeks. When they were young, the brothers became popular singers, like a Chinese version of One Direction. It is widely assumed that they were intimately involved with the emperor. However, the specifics of their connections with her have never been established. Perhaps she was simply a fan of their music. Due to her advanced age and physical decline, we will only let the Zhang brothers get near her, thus no one knows for sure. The Zhang brothers were passionately resented in court by the government and other parties. The Empress, however, paid no attention to this until the nobles became so enraged that, according to some resources, they invaded the palace and severed the heads of the brothers to send a message in a language with which was undoubtedly familiar. Whose paranoia increased as she spent more and more time with her concubines and developed the belief that everyone was plotting against her. While she was busy driving her enemies into exile, jail, or the grave, she got addicted to aphrodisiacs and completely lost contact with reality. Unable to rein in her unruly subjects, she finally gave up the throne. Her son was restored to power after being exiled. Wu's reign was generally calm if we disregarded how she got to the crown. Wu was instrumental in expanding China's military control of the region during the Tang Dynasty. In addition, the size of the military was reduced, taxes were lowered, wages were increased, pensions were made more secure, and large tracts of royal property in the vicinity of the capital were made available for agricultural use. To be fair, the level of Wu's cruelty may have been exaggerated. It's possible that what she said about Lady Wang killing her baby daughter is accurate. It's also tough to tell which cute tales are true and which are merely legends. Because, after all, Wu has been held responsible by Chinese historians for everything from infanticide to hedonism to earthquakes. An earthquake supposedly struck China not long after she assumed control, and this was interpreted as a portent of evil things to come. However, if you're trying to consolidate your authority and defeat your opponents, having people believe you may cause earthquakes is a great power. Her contemporaries were not happy with her rise to power for this reason. What do you think of her? Was she just pure evil? Or maybe the stories were made up by her rivals?